Once upon a time, in a kingdom where roses bloomed even in winter and silver dew clung to the leaves at dawn, a child was born to a long-waiting king and queen. She was as radiant as the morning sun and delicate as a petal in spring. The people rejoiced across the land, for their royal child was a blessing beyond measure. They named her Briar Rose, for she was both lovely and strong. To celebrate her birth, the king and queen held a grand feast and invited 7 fairies from across the realm, kind spirits who guarded nature, dreams, and joy. Each came to bless the child with a gift more precious than gold. One gave her beauty, unmatched in any kingdom. Another gave her a voice that would enchant birds and hearts alike. A third granted her grace, so she would move like wind in the willow trees. A fourth gave her kindness, gentle enough to calm beasts. A fifth gave her wit, so clever it could untangle riddles and hearts alike. A sixth gave her courage, so she would fear no shadow. But before the 7th fairy could bestow her gift, a whirlwind tore through the hall. The great doors burst open, and in swept a dark figure cloaked in smoke and envy. It was Morwenna, the forgotten fairy, who had once been protector of twilight and secrets, but had been left uninvited. Her voice was smooth as velvet but cold as stone. "You forgot me," she whispered, though everyone heard. And with a cruel smile she made her curse. "When the princess turns 16, she shall prick her finger on a spindle and fall into a sleep deeper than death, never to wake." With a flash of shadow and sparks she vanished. The court froze in horror, but the 7th fairy, who had not yet spoken, stepped forward with trembling wings and bright eyes. "I cannot undo the curse," she said softly, "but I can soften it. The princess shall not die but sleep. For 100 years she will slumber, untouched by time, until love's true gift awakens her." The king, in fear and love, declared all spinning wheels and spindles in the land destroyed. But fate does not fear royal decrees. Briar Rose grew with the light of the fairies in her heart. She sang with the birds, danced with deer, and laughed like waterfalls. She was loved by all, though few remembered the old curse. On her 16th birthday, her curiosity carried her through a forgotten door in a quiet tower. There, an old woman worked at a spinning wheel, the last in the land. Drawn to it as if by a thread of destiny, Briar Rose touched the spindle. The curse bloomed like a midnight flower. She fell gently, like a feather, into sleep. The castle mourned, but the kind 7th fairy returned. With a sweep of her wand, she sent the entire court into sleep, so the princess would not dream alone. Around the castle walls, a forest of roses and thorns grew, thick and tangled, guarding the sleeping beauty within. Seasons passed, decades turned, the world changed, but the thorns did not fade. 100 years later, a prince named Alaric, son of a faraway king, heard the tale of the Rose Castle. He had wandered the world seeking something he could not name, something real, something true. When he reached the thorny woods, the thorns parted before him like water before a stone. The spell knew he had come with love, unbidden and heart unwounded. Inside the silent castle, he found dustless halls, sleeping guards, and gardens locked in eternal bloom. And at the center, on a high tower bed of silk and moonlight, lay Briar Rose. He knelt. He had never seen her before, and yet she seemed familiar, as if they had shared the same dreams. He brushed her cheek, and with love that was not born of knowing, but of destiny, he kissed her brow. The breath returned to her lips. Her eyes opened, starlight and wonder. The castle rang with yawns and cries of joy as all awakened. Light poured through the windows, and the roses bloomed anew. The prince and Briar Rose spoke not as strangers, but as two who had waited for each other across time. In time they married, not because the tale demanded it, but because their hearts did, and the kingdom rejoiced once more. The tale of Sleeping Beauty is not only a story of enchantment, but of waiting, of faith in what we cannot yet see, and of the love that wakes us not only from sleep, but from sorrow and fear. And they lived, not simply happily ever after, but wisely, joyfully, and well.